This meeting is being recorded.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Sadashivasamārambhām Shankaracharya Madhyamām Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Kesavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakrito Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ऋकारस्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्तन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः विषेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ प्रज्ञानां शुप्रतानैः स्थिरचरनिगरव्यापिभिर्व्याप्य लोकान् भुक्त्वा भोगान् स्तविष्टान् पुनरपि दिशनोद्भासितान् कामजन्यान् पीत्वा सर्वान् विशेषान् स्वपिति मधुरभुङ् मायया भोजयन्नः मायासङ्ख्यातुरीयं परममृतमजं ब्रह्म यत्तन्नतोऽस्मि। ओमित्येतदक्षरम् इदं सर्वमिति यदिदम् अर्थजातम् अभिधेयभूतं तस्य अभिधानव्यतिरेकात् अभिधानस्य च ओंकारव्यतिरेकात् ओंकारः एव इदं सर्वं परं च ब्रह्म अभिधान अभिधेय उपायपूर्वकमेव गम्यते इति ओंकारः एव तस्य एतस्य परापरब्रह्मरूपस्य अक्षरस्य ओम इत्येतस्य उपव्याख्यानं ब्रह्मप्रतिपत्त्युपायत्वात् ब्रह्म समीपतया विस्पष्टं प्रकथनम् उपव्याख्यानं प्रस्तुतं वेदितव्यम् इति वाक्यशेषः। ओम इति एतदक्षरम् इदं सर्वम् इति। The akshara om is all that is here. Idam sarvam, whatever is known through this cognition, this, when I say this, it means anything that is cognized in terms of objects, in terms of relationships, in terms of dimensions like spatiality, in terms of attributes like color, size and all that, the emotions, the perceptions, all of them are included. Any experience is idam sarvam. Whatever is known by this book, this bag, this body, this anger, this sun, this moon, this concept of gravity, this absence of a car in the car park. So whether it is an absence or a presence or it's a concept, anything which your mind is cognizing is covered in the idam sarvam. And this idam sarvam is your experience of the world. That is your samsara. Not only objects, but anything. Happiness, thoughts, decisions, everything is known to you. Whatever is known to you is this cognition. And all that is om iti. They are all Om. And this Om, it's not that it is a name given to all this, but Om itself is all this. How he's going to say that, I think we saw. Yadidam artajatam abhideya bhutam. Whatever that we just listed as idam is artajatam, meaning of words. They are abhideya bhutam. They are the objects which are denoted by these words. When I say book, the object which is associated with the word book is abhideya. When I say plant, whatever is the object which is linked with that word plant, the object that you see or which your mind cognizes is abhideya for the word plant. Tasya abhidana avyatirekat, and the abhidana is the word plant. Abhidana is the word book, and the object which is associated with that word book is abhideya. So the artha, vagartha viva sampraktau. Vak is the word. Words are typically arbitrary. In Sanskrit, we go with some roots and all that. But even that root is arbitrary. Why should you say pustakam, for example? Why pustakam? There will be some vyutpatti for pustakam. But still that root itself is typically arbitrary. In English, the word book, why did you keep the word book, not cook for the book? We don't know. It's arbitrary. But then the abhideya is linked to that abhidana because there is a common understanding of what the word book means. So there is an understanding, this is what is a book. Book is a word, and this is the object which the word book means. Therefore, there is an abhidana, abhideya, sambandha is there between the sound and the object that sound represents. Now Shruti says, abhidana avyatirekam abhideyam. The word and the concept that you are realizing through the word, like the book, there is no substantive there. Why? Book means what? Collection of pages. Now each page is not a book, but the collection is a book. Now then you have to ask, what is a page? A page also comprises of tissues, whatever. And then that is the page. Now what are these tissues? It comprises of some atoms. A collection of atoms is what it is. Now then again the collection can't be a thing. What is that individual atom? It goes to energy. Comprises of energy, neutrons, electrons, whatever. Now what is that energy? It goes on like that to the satta. Not only that, your cognition of the book, every part of that cognition is pervaded by consciousness alone. Is there any perception, any cognition which is not pervaded by the consciousness? Whether it is the book or the page or what is written, at every moment is pervaded by consciousness. When I say there is book, there is only book consciousness. When I say there is page consciousness. When I say there are letters, there is letter consciousness. So what is invariably there is only the awareness or consciousness in everything. Rest keeps changing. There is book, there is paper, there is word, there is letter, there are tissues, there are atom, whatever. I am reading, the sense of reading, everything keeps changing. But what is unchanging in that is the consciousness. There is book consciousness, there is paper consciousness, there is reading consciousness, there is knowledge consciousness. So if you look at it from the substantive perspective, it is consciousness. Or if you look at it from satta, what exists, you see there is book is, page is, tissue is, atom is, energy is, nucleus is, letters are, knowledge is, my learning is. So that what is there? Unchanging in all this is the isness. The isness is always there. Consciousness is also always there, and they are both the same. The isness is provided by consciousness. Satta Spurti. Now, what we are looking at here is the Abhideya. Because there is no substantive, you see only consciousness. Then where is the book? The book is just the concept that came to your mind because of the word book. And there is some Vyavaharika Satyam. It's not that it is totally non-existent. It is Mithya. It is a different reality. It is not Paramarthika Satyam, but it is a Vyavaharika Satyam. I can transact with a book. I am able to read it. That's all. So, but then there are collection of words, and like book, page, letters, words, reading, all these are words, and these collection of words, all of them have an associated meaning to it. Meaning, you can cognize a certain thing called a book, certain thing called a page, certain thing called a letter, certain thing called knowledge, certain thing called reading. That is all there. So there are words and associated meaning, but there is no substantive to any of that meaning, because it reduces itself to something else. And that something else again reduces itself to something else until it resolves finally into satta and spurti, the isness and consciousness. Therefore, there is nothing other than the abhidana. All that is there is only abhidanam. There is no abhideyam, because abhideyam is mithya. But you can still say, you can ask this question. It can reduce to something else, but isn't there something else which is out there? You can say book is paper, maybe. Paper is some whatever tissues or what is it called, pulp, or whatever that makes the paper. That pulp can reduce to something else, doesn't matter. Isn't there an object? Something should be there underneath, which is coming together as this book. Now, the something is not actually what is seen. That is why we said the satta and spurti, the isness is consciousness, and the source of consciousness is not outside. Consciousness is always from I. The source of consciousness, prajna, is only you. It can't be a discognition. You never cognize consciousness through a discognition. Consciousness is always the essence of the I cognition. Therefore, the abhideya is actually not outside. The substantive, the isness is not outside. Therefore, there is no abhideya which is mapping to the abhidana other than it being you. So, abhidana avyatirekat abhidanasya, the abhidana I mean, Abhidana Avyatirekat Abhideyaha. Abhideya is not different, is not separate from Abhidana. Abhidana is what is Abhideya? What you perceive in your mind as book is book. There is no other thing there called book. So it is all only play within consciousness. There is, because everything is that consciousness. The whole world is nothing but this thing consciousness. And the thingness keeps changing, it is mithya. So the only consciousness is Satya. Therefore, what is there is only collection of words. And the collection of words are not separate from Omkara. Sir, he says Omkara avyatirekat Omkara eva idam sarvam. Because Omkara is collection of all sounds. A, U, Ma. Within A to Ma, all sounds resolve. Therefore, everything here is Om. Param cha Brahma Abhidana Abhideya Upaya Purvakameva Gamyate. Iti Omkara eva. So, Abhidana Abhideya Upayakam is how the Brahma is attained. Therefore, Brahman is Omkara. तस्य एतस्य परापर ब्रह्म रूपस्य अक्षरस्य ओम इत्येतस्य उपव्याख्यानं ब्रह्म प्रतिपत्ति उपायत्वात् ब्रह्म समीपतया विस्पष्टं प्रकटनम् उपव्याख्यानं. The Parabrahma and Aparabrahma is Srishti with Maya. Parabrahma is Nirguna Satta. The Paramarthika Satyam is Parabrahma. The Vyavaharikam and Pratibhasikam together are called Apara Brahma because that is also Brahma. When you look at it from the Srishti perspective, it is Apara Brahma. Apara Prakriti, we saw in Bhagavad Gita recently. Para Prakriti, Apara. Apareyam itastwanyam Prakritim Vidhi me param Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho Yayedam Dharyate Jagat. Like that in Bhagavad Gita also, Para Apara Prakriti, Bhagavan speaks as his Swarupa. Here also, Para Apara Brahma Rupasya is what Bhashyakara uses. Para Brahma, Apara Brahma. What is Apara Brahma means? The Maya Karyam. The Upadana Karanam through Maya is called Apara Brahma, the Srishti. But both of them together is Brahma because he uses singular. Etasya Parapara Brahma Rupasya Aksharasya. That which is immutable, or is the Naksharati. Om ityetasya upavyakyanam Brahma Pratipatti Upayam. So the Brahman is to be understood. And all these words are only to understand Brahma. Finally, they fall off. In fact, he is going to say, neither Om nor Brahma become the Abhidana. Actually, Brahman is, the Vastu is beyond both. But when I say beyond, Surupataha it is beyond. Okay, it can't be defined by one particular word. It is not limited by that. But then to indicate it, the Lakshana of it, what is the Lakshana of Brahma? You need these words. Because without words, na adhigamyate. You have to use the words to show something which is beyond words. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. The words bounce back from that Swarupa. That Swarupa is Brahma. Vachyartha cannot give you the cognition of Brahman, but Lakshyartha gives. So Lakshana Vakyas, through Bhagatyaga, you recognize that Brahman because it is your Swarupa. Now, once you have recognized it, then all these words and all fall off because it is the only existence. So for the only existence, where is words? So the words are only used to negate your wrong perceptions of what it is. Because you think there are objects, the objects are negated by saying Vachalambanam Vikaro Namadheyam. There are no objects, only words are there. But even words are not there because they are nothing but sounds. And even sounds are not there because they are Omkara. Like that, it is reducing it to show that all that is here is one Vastu. If there is only one Vastu, you can't have a name or distinguish it or anything. Therefore, words actually fall off. But then for you to recognize what that Vastu is, this Lakshana Vakyas are used. So here he says, Aksharasya Om Ityetasya Upavyakyanam Brahma Pratibatti Upayatvat Brahma Samipataya Vispashtam Prakatanam Upavyakyanam. To take you closer to Brahman, that's why it is Lakshana. Samipataya. I can't exactly see, that's why Jnanam has to happen. Ishvara Anugraha only can make you gain that Jnana. We can't exactly say that, hey, I have shown you this is what is Brahman, like that. Why? Because it's not an object which is revealed, first of all, through a this cognition. It can't be revealed because it is not the this cognition. Even though this cognition is also Brahma, but it is never recognized through this cognition. And my eye cognition is also colored because eye means it goes to Ahankara or Buddhi or Manaha. But what we are looking at is the essence of what is I. What is the content? When I say I, what is the content of the I? Leaving aside my ego, Vyaktiktvam and all that. Now that is revealed through these kinds of words, through Lakshana. Therefore, Samipadaya Vispashtam is what Bhashyakara says. Samipadaya Vispashtam Prakatanam Upavyakyanam. Taking you closer to it by these kind of lakshanas like Omkara and all that, the person is led closer to recognizing it. After that, it has to take place. There is no other option. Basically, like taking the horse to the water. Then only because of Ishvara Anugraha, the Jnanam happens. So here, Brahma Samipataya Vispashtam Prakatanam Upavyakyanam. So Prastutam Vedidavyam iti Vakyaseshaha, it has been started to be expounded. So you have to understand through this Om Ityetate. Then he comes to again the Bhutam Bhavat Bhavishyat. Bhutam Bhavat Bhavishyat iti Kalatraya Parichedyam Yat Tadapi Omkaraha Eva Uktanyayataha Yacha Anyat Trikalaatitam Karyadhigamyam Kala Aparichedyam Avyakritadi Tadapi Omkaraha Eva. So not only the things that you are seeing, so those are objects. Now there are things which are perceived like space and time. Kala, along with it, Desha also you have to take here. Desha Kala Vastu Aparichinnam is what we say. So we have covered all the Vastu as Omkara. Now what about time? Bhutam Bhavat Bhavishyat. The time is generally recognized as past, present and future. Time is always a span. The present moment is not the time. A span of moments is what is called Kala. And you always recognize time as span as past, present and future. That is what is time. When there is only present, there is no time. No. So you should, basically time is comprised of memory and your expectations, isn't it? That's what it is. Your memory of moments is what is Bhutam. What is registered in your awareness. And a stretch of present, again superimposed on the present. So I am saying I am talking now. When I say I am talking now, This talking itself is stretch. Yeah, to tell a word, suppose I say cow. This cow came out in few seconds, right? Or part of seconds. But if you actually see, each one again breaks up ka, right? So if you do it in slow motion, take a video recording and do it in slow motion, this telling the word cow itself comprises of multiple sequence of lip movement and throat movement, everything, right? So it happens in various. So when you do a slow motion, stretch it to the maximum. So you can do this 2 seconds in, like, say 20 seconds, right? In a slow motion. Then you will see how many changes happen in your facial expression, in the sound that you produce to bring that out, that sound called cow, which means what? It has happened in a stretch of time. Again, it is the kala is a superimposition of the stretch onto the moment. Each one is a moment, and that moment alone is what is. Rest is a superimposition of memory, correct? That is what is kala. So the truth of kala is the present moment, and that is Omkara. And Uktanyayataha, he says, that means what? What is Uktanyaya? Everything is a word, and word is nothing but Omkara, right? Now here also, whatever is Bhutam Bhavat Bhavishyat, again those are Vachalambanam only. Whatever is an experience, whether it is Bhuta Bhavat Bhavishyat, and through the 3 points in time, whatever is experienced, it's not about the time, correct? Anything, if I have said any cognition is nothing but the word, it is applicable to 3 points in time. It doesn't change. It's not that in the past there were objects, they were not mithya. In the present they are mithya. It's not like that. So that's why, because you have to use this Ukta Nyayataha, he says, because that's only Nyaya which has gone so far, right? Yacha Anyat Trikala Atitam. Now, everything that you see is part of points in time, Bhutam Bhavit Bhavishyat. Whereas there is also Trikala Atitam. There are things beyond time, which are Karyadigamyam, which is Kala Aparichedyam Avyakritadi. The Avyakritam, the unmanifest. Whatever is unmanifest, which is not within the time, like Maya and all that, that also is Omkara only, because those are also words. They also resolve in Omkara. Therefore, Omkara is Brahman. There is nothing other than Omkara. So initially it said all the objects are Brahman. Now the time also is Brahman. And by inference, you have to take space also is Brahman. You can bring space within objects. But generally, dimensionality is what is space. So it can't be one of the object. So spatiality is space, right? So that also, like time is perceived, it's a superimposition of the present moment. Similarly, space also, dimensionality. When I say space, the dimensionality is in mind. Objects are seen, but dimensionality is cognized. Therefore, that also, so dimensionality, time is also a dimension. Past, present, and future, right? It is in your mind. Similarly, spatiality is also dimensionality, which is in mind, which is supported by, which is existence is in consciousness only, awareness only. There is no separate thing. Spatiality is a concept, isn't it? Abhidhan abhideyayoho ekatve api abhidhana pradhanyena nirdeshaha kritaha om ityetadaksharam idam sarvam ityadi abhidhana pradhanyena nirdishtasya पुनः अभिधेय प्राधान्येन निर्देशः अभिधान अभिधेययोः एकत्व प्रतिपत्त्यर्थः. So now the Shruti gets to, from Omkara, so far it was saying Omkara, Omkara, correct? Now it is going to say Brahma Sarvam hi etad Brahma Ayam Atma Brahma Soyam Atma Chatushpat. It is now switching to Atma and Brahma. So far it was talking Om. So here Bhashyakara, interestingly, though he starts off saying Abhidana Abhidanayoho Abhideyayoho Ekatve Api, even though Abhidana and Abhideya are one. It's very, he's going to discuss this later. He's going to say Abhideya Pratipatti, Abhidanatvam is not Gaunam. It's not that like Agni. When I say Agni, means fire. There is no Ekatvam. Agni is a word, arbitrary word used to indicate fire. Just because I say Agni, my mouth is not going to get burnt. Because Agni and fire are not one there. It is only Gaunam. Gunavritya, figuratively, we can say Agni word means this. But they are not one. It's not that Agni word is itself fire. Because when you say Agni, doesn't mean your mouth is burnt. The word and the Agni are two separate things. Whereas in this case, there is Ekatvam. It's not that Om is an arbitrary word for the Brahma. Brahma is an arbitrary word, actually speaking. But Om is Brahman, or is whatever the Vastu. Therefore, Abhidana Abhideyayoho Ekatve api, even though there is oneness, Abhidana Pradhanyena Nirdesha Kritaha. So, Om, using the Om only it has been said. Now, the Abhideya, which is Atma and Brahma, is going to be said, but then they are both same. That's why he's going to, he starts this way, but gets to this view that it is both same. Not Gauna Vritya, but Mukhya Vritya itself, they are same. Abhidana Pradhanyena Nirdishtasya Punaha Abhideya Pradhanyena Nirdeshaha Abhidana Abhideyoho Ekatva Pratipatyartaha. It is not through Om you understand Brahma or anything. Shruti said Om is Brahma. No, I am Atma Brahma. This Atma, which is Abhideya, that is also Brahma. Ekatva Pratipatti, the oneness to be recognized, both are said. Itaratahi Abhidana Tantra Abhideya Pratipatti iti Abhideyasya Abhidanatvam Gaunamiti Ashanka Syat. Otherwise, Abhidanatvam is Gaunam. You may have a Ashanka, you may think, you may have a confusion that it is Gunavritti, Gaunyam. It is figuratively only Abhidana Abhideya Ekatvam. Like when I say Agni, the fire, even though Agni is fire, but then it is figurative. There is an arbitrary way by which I have named Agni, whereas that's not the case with Omkara. Omkara is Brahman. Ekatva Pratipattescha Prayojanam Abhidana Abhideyoho Ekenaiva Prayatnena Yugapat Pravilapayanne Tad Vilakshanam Brahma Pratipadyate. Both are actually shown to be one, but then by resolving them, Brahma Pratipatti happens. Ekatva Pratipattescha Prayojanam, by showing the oneness, Abhidana Abhideyoho Ekatva Pratipatti, oneness of Abhidana and Abhideya, oneness of Omkara and Atma is used for what? Ekenaiva Prayatnena Yugapat, at the same time showing what they are. Tad Vilakshanam Brahma Pratipadyate. The Brahma, the Vastu, which is actually not these words or anything. That's why it's a Lakshana Vakya. It is indicated. So that Brahma Pratipatti happens because you cognize these two instantly and then show that They are one, but then they are indicating what is Brahman. Tatacha vakshati pada matra matrascha padaha iti. What is the pada is the matra, and matra is the pada. Then what? They resolve. See, if you say the objects are all this experience is nothing but this one Omkara word, means mithyatvam is what is shown. It vanishes. It doesn't have any existence. Then what exists? That is the vastu. Because everything else is just this Om, one sound. And that sound also has its existence in what? Satta Samanya. The easiness. That is what we use the word Brahma, all that. But all that word also, it's arbitrary. When there is only vastu, any word is meaningless in the final scheme of things, right? But we use, this is used, that's why he says, ekatva pratipattehe prayojanam abhidana abhideyayoho ekenaiva prayatnena yugapat pravilapayanne. That pravilapanam, that resolution, yugapat pravilapayanne tad vilakshanam brahma pratipadyeta. It is, Brahman is different, okay? That because it is vastu alone, there is no abhidana abhideya and all that here. But it is used, it is a lakshana, so that you arrive at it. Sarvam hi etad brahma, ayam atma brahma, soyam atma chatushpat. Sarvam omkaraha, it said. Now it is sarvam hi etad brahma, soyam atma brahma, saha. He uses the word saha. Ayam atma chatushpat. That atma is comprised of 4 parts. What are these 4 parts is what it is going to talk about. This atma has 4 parts. These are all lakshana. We saw in the Bhagavad Gita class, no? Lakshana. Lakshana Vakya. What Lakshana Vakya is? Directly, the Swarupa is revealed by Lakshana Vakya. Srishti and all that is Tatastha Lakshana. Like it is Swabhava, what is shown, and through that the Karanatvam is imputed. So here it directly talks about the Swarupa of Brahman. Sarvam hi etad Brahma, ayam Atma Brahma. The Mahavakya, no? Ayam Atma Brahma. Soyam Atma Chatushpat. This Atma, which is Brahma, is 4 parts, 4-quartered. So Bhashikara will explain all that. Sarvam hi etad Brahma iti. Sarvam yaduktam omkaramatram iti. Tad etad Brahma. What was now shown as Omkara Matram Sarvam, Tad Brahma. Therefore, Omkara is Abhidana, Brahma is Abhideya here. And Brahma also is a Abhidana only to the Vastu. Tacha Brahma Parokshabhihatam Pratyakshataha Viseshena Nirdishati Ayamatma Brahma. When I say the word Brahma, then typically what comes? It is Sarvatma, means some big thing, huge thing, Virat. Because our mind can only think guna. So this gunavatvam is immediately what is cognized. So when I say Brahma, only an Ishvara is what comes to mind, isn't it? Paroksha. All this Jagat is pervaded by Brahma, means there is some big conscious entity which is there, but I can't see it. It is in the form of this world and experience and all that. Therefore, it is paroksha. It's not there for you to objectify. So, tacha brahma paroksha abhihitam pratyakshataha visheshena nirdishati ayam atma. This ayam is used, so Bhashyakara says pratyakshataha. When I say ayam, this means there is a proximity which is brought in. Hey, look at this. When I say look at this, immediately what happens? Your mind comes to that particular point, no? When I say look at this, means I have brought it closer. When I say Brahma is everything, it is paroksham. But when I say this is Brahma, then it is pratyaksham. It's not this means it's pratyaksham, means it is trying to show it as pratyaksham. Until you see it, it is not at pratyaksham. But by using the word I am, Shastra is trying to make it pratyaksha. Bring a proximity to it. A closeness. I am Atma. Hey, this Atma is Brahma. Now the question you will have is, hey, Brahman means you said all the galaxies seen, unseen, beyond 3 points of time, beyond space, all objects, that is Brahma. How are you saying this Atma is Brahma? That will be the question. No, that is what is explained through this, because we can always explain in any which way. There are many prakriyas of showing how this I am Atma, again we can go to that consciousness, easiness and all that. But there is a particular prakriya this Upanishad is following. So we will go with it. How is this I am Atma Brahma? So it says I am iti chatushpatvena pravibhajyamanam pratyagatmataya abhinayena nirdishati. Uses the word abhinayena. I am. It's abhinaya, he says. The word I am means you are saying this. When the moment I say this, I have to use the abhinaya, no? Because this means that means you are pointing to something. Otherwise, you can't say this. What happens? See, when I say this is book, suppose you are sitting and listening to the class, you have closed your eyes, you are concentrating. Okay, what is G saying? I have to listen. So you are closing your eyes and full of concentration. And I am saying this is that particular thing. When I say this is, then your eyes will immediately open. Why? Because the moment I use the word this, your mind knows I'm trying to point to something. Because it's a pronoun, no? So there is an abhinaya involved. That's why Bhashyakara says abhinayena nirdishati. And what is that abhinaya pointing to? Pratyagatmataya. That pratyagatma. That pratyagatma is Brahma. Chatushpatvena pravibhajyamanam pratyagatmataya abhinayena nirdishati. The nirdesha is done through an abhinaya that this is what is that Chatushpat Brahma, which it is going to talk about, is Ayamatma. Pratyagatmataya. Because it's when I say Ayamatma, it is the Pratyagatma only. And this Pratyagatma is what is going to be now revealed as Chatushpat Brahma. Means Vaishwanaraha, which is like all that is here. Virat Swarupa is one pada. Taijasaha is another pada. Hiranyagarbha. The whole conscious world is one pada. And then Ishvaraha. And then Turiyaha. All that. So the waken experience resolves into dream experience. Dream experience resolves into deep sleep experience. And deep sleep resolves into the Swarupa, which is beyond all these three. Like that Chatushpatvam is to be shown And that Chatushpat is Ayam Patma iti Pratyagatmataya Abhinayena Nirdishati. The Pratyagatma is Brahma because all those exist and resolve in Pratyagatma. Okay, there is one discussion this particular Tikakara does. I don't want to spend a lot of time, but there is one objection. Sarvam Omkara Abhideya Brahma Rupam iti Tadrupatvena Upasyam iti va nartaha kintu Abhidana Abhideya Vibhaga Kalpa Vigalitam Brahmaiva iti Vakhyartaha. There is a discussion which is done whether it is Upasyam, that is where this Abhidana Abhideya Ekatvam that we just spoke about. One of the ways people look at it is Omkara is a word symbol, sound symbol used as an upasana, which is also said in Shastra. It can be used for upasana, but then that is Gaunam. It can be used for upasana, but here Mukhyartha is Om itself is Brahma. Therefore, he dismisses that. Okay, that it's not necessary we go into details of that argument, but Pravilapanena tad vilakshana swarupa paratattva pratipattihi syat sa yesha pratipattihi purvam avataranikaayam pratignyata dvaita prapanchopashame swastata advaita bhavaha prayojanamiti. That is the resolution. The Pravilapanam is what? Tad vilakshana swarupa paratattva pratipattihi. The paratattva, unto the paratattva, Omkara and Brahma, whatever is seen as Brahma, see, finally, if it is Nirguna Parabrahma Swarupa, if it is Nirguna Swarupa, all this Sarvatvam, the Sarvam Brahma, all that don't have any meaning because it is Nirguna Vastu. That's why Vilakshana Swarupa Paratattva Pratipatti. The Vilakshanam is there from, even though we say Omkara is Brahma, Sarvam hi etat Brahma, all that, this whatever is perceived as Sarvam, whatever is seen as Omkara, that Tad Vilakshanam only is Brahma. Because Brahma is Nirgunam. You can't say Nirguna Brahma is Omkara. Because Omkara also is kind of a guna. That's why it is a Lakshana Vakya only. It is indicating, it is pointing, it is Lingam. But the Swarupa is Vilakshanam. That is what was originally said. Dvaita Prapanchopashame Advaita Bhavaha Prayojanam. Yata that Rogartasya Roga Upashame Swasthata is how Bhashikara started this, if you remember. So the Roga Nivritti is what is the intention. Swasthata is your natural state. Swasthata is natural state. Roga is on it. So Roga Nivritti is the intent. Likewise, all this Omkara and all these words are to remove the wrong notions. And your Swarupa, the Vastu is always there. You don't need all those words. The words just come and go. Therefore, Vilakshana is what Bhashyakara says. Whatever example we saw, I took it from here only. Vagni Shabda Samyogena Jihvadaha na bhavati. Yena Vagni Shabda Sabdartasya tad abhidayaka Shabda avireyakatvam adyavasyeta. So that is an example. The word Agni doesn't make your mouth burnt. Like that, you can't say. Here the Abhidana Abhideya Sambandha is there, but both of them, after Parityaga, Vilakshana only is Brahman. That's why Padascha Matra. Anyway, so Upavyakyanam, Kalatraya, we have spoken about all this. Tacha Brahma Paroksham, Kinchiditi Ma Jnasishteta, Iti Paroksha Abhihitameva, Pratyakshadavaha Api Visheshena, Nirdishati Ayamatma Brahma. Yada Punar Brahmatma Eva Tada, Sarvabhidana Abhideya Prapancha Sakshitvat, Tad Vilakshanatvam Brahmanaha Vivakshitamiti, Suspashtam Bhavet. Brahmanaha cha Atma Abhinnatvat, Tasyapi Abhidana Abhideya Vilakshanatvam अपरोक्ष्यं च सुकरावगमम् अत्र च आत्मा ब्रह्म इति ब्रह्मात्मनोः सामानाधिकरण्येन निर्देशात् परस्परं विशेष्य विशेषण भावापन्नत्वात् यथा ब्रह्मणः परोक्षत्व व्यावृत्तिः तथा आत्मनः असर्वत्व व्याप. Okay, so now he gets into, Tikakara already gets into this Atma Shabda. I am Atma Brahma. So there is a Samanadikaranya between this Atma and Brahman which is revealed here. I am Atma Brahma. So there is a there is a Samanadikaranya. So there is the Brahman is Atma. That is a Nirdesha here. Now, like I said, let us go through the prakriya that is used. How is I am Atma Brahma is what this Mandukya prakriya is. So let us go through that. Soyam Atma Omkara Videyaha Paraparatnena Vyavastitaha Chatushpat Karshapanavati Na Gauhu Iva. So again, Bhashyakara, very beautiful example he gives. This Soyam Atma Omkara Abhideyaha, this I am Atma Saha Atma, that this Atma which is there, that is Omkara Abhideyaha. Okay, Omkara is Abhidana and the Abhideya is this Atma. Paraparatvena Vyavastitaha Chatushpat Para Apara. So it is available as Paratma and Aparatma and it is Chatushpat. See, because you are looking at it both from the Srishta Jagat, Karya Jagat, to show the Karanam is Brahma, and also Lakshana Vakya. Both are there. Both are used. Even in, we saw in Bhagavad Gita also in the classes, both Paraprakriti and Aparaprakriti are used. One is Vivarta Upadana Karanam, another is Parinami Upadana Karanam. Both are imputed on Brahman because Karanatvam is there for the Karya Jagat. And for Karya Jagat, if you look at the Karya Jagat, the Srishta Jagat, whatever is available to you as this world, there is a Parinamitvam which is there. We say the Pancha Tanmatra was there, Akasha Vayu and all that, which became the Stula Jagat. Means there is a Parinamitvam, there is a change that is happening in the world. And what supports this change is a Parinami Karanam. And that Upadana Karanam is Maya Karyam. So Maya, through Maya, Brahman becomes Parinami Karanam. And by Surupadaha, by its presence, giving it the Satta Spurti, it is the Vivarta Karanam. So Samasattakam is there means Parinami Karanam. Vishama Satta is there means Vivarta Karanam. Means there is a different states of reality. Okay, one is a Paramarthika Satyam, one is empirical reality, and other is absolute reality. So Brahman is absolute reality, Jagat is empirical reality, which is Vyavaharika Satta. And the Vyavaharika Satta attains its existence from Paramarthika Satta, but Paramarthika Satta doesn't undergo any change. Without undergoing change, the rope becomes the snake. Without undergoing any change, the Atma shows you the dream. That is why Atma is a Vivarta Karanam for dream. Rope is a Vivarta Karanam for Vivarta Upadana Karanam for snake. Without undergoing any change. That's what is Paraprakriti and Aparaprakriti. Aparaprakriti is the Parinami Upadana Karanam, which is Maya Upahita Chaitanyam. Like that we have seen in Bhagavad Gita also. Here, Soyam Atma Omkara Abhideyaha Paraparatvena Vyavastitaha Chatushpat. It has 4 parts. And Chatushpatvam na Gauhu Iva. It's not like a cow where there are 4 legs, 4 different things. 4 different legs are there in cow. It is not like that. He says it's Karshapanavati. Karshapana is apparently one particular gold coin thing. And the 4 quarters in a coin are notional You don't break the coin. The quarter merges into half. The half resolves into 3 quarters. And 3 quarters resolves into the final quarter. And all together is only one coin. So there is no quarter. Quarter is notional. Therefore, he uses the example of Karshapanavate, na Gauhu iva. It's not like Gauhu, there are 4 different legs. It's not like the Vakan is a separate thing, dream is a separate thing, deep sleep is a separate thing, and the Turiya is another separate. It's not like 4 things with 4 legs, this Brahman is standing. No. It is like a Karshapana. Trayanam Vishwadinam Purva Purva Pravilapanena Turiyasya Pratipattihi iti Karana Sadhanaha Pada Shabdaha. What does Pada mean? He uses Karana Vyutpatti. Through this Pratipatti happens. Anena Padyate. Anena Pratipattihi. Purva Purva Pravilapanena Turiyasya Pratipattihi. Trayanam Vishwadinam. The Vishwataijasa Prajnaha. These 3 states, Purva Purva Pravilapana, each one resolving into the other, Turiyasya Pratipattihi. Through that resolution, each of this Pada, the Pada is the word he explains, the Pada is Anena Padyate, Anena Pratipatyate iti Padaha. Karana Sadhanaha. Karana Vyutpatti he uses. Through this, the Pratipatti happen of the Turiya. The Swarupa Jnana takes place through this Pada, because each Pada resolves into the other, into the other, into the other, and to the Swarupa, the Turiya Swarupa. Therefore, Trayanam Vishwadinam Purva Purva Pravilapanena Turiyasya Pratipattihi iti Karana Sadhanaha Pada Shabdaha. Or you can take Karma Sadhanaha. Karma Vyutpatti also you can take, he says. Turiyasya Padyate iti Karma Sadhanaha Pada Shabdaha. Turiyaha Padyate Padyate iti Padaha. The Turiya is attained through Pada. Therefore it is Pada. So essentially it is Turiya Pratipatti only. Whether you take Karana or Karma. So the Pada is by resolution, the Turiyatvam is attained by your, the Swarupa is revealed through this Prakriya. Therefore it is called Padaha. Saha iti avideyatvena Omkara Gamyaha Tallakshyattvena cha Parabrahmatvena Stitaha ityevam Parapara Brahmatvena Vyavastitaha Atma Paramrishyate Ayam iti cha Chatushpatvena Pravibhajyamanasya Tasyaiva Pratyagatmadaya Abhinayena Nirdeshaha Kriyate. Natu Gauhu iva Sodara Lagna Chatushpadavan. Like Udara Lagna, from the stomach it is hanging now. It's not like that, is what he says. It's not like there are actual parts. Vyavahara Prachuryaya Tasmin Pada Vibaha. See, this is why coin? Because for Vyavahara Prachurya only, for the convenience of transaction, the Pada Vibhaga. But there is no actual Pada Vibhaga is there in the case of coin. Swarna Nanakam is what he uses, Tikagara uses here. Eva Mihapi Pratipatti Saukaryartam Atma Chatushpat Kalpyate. So for Saukarya of Pratipatti, to make you understand, the Chatushpatvam is brought. It doesn't actually have 4 parts. For the convenience of making you cognize what is Brahma, Chatushpatvam is superposed on Brahman. Pratipatti Saukaryartham. Na Vastutaha eva Pada Chatushtayam, Pada Chatushtayavan Atma. The Atma doesn't have 4 legs or something. Tatahi Bahavo Jagarita Sthanam eva Atmanam Purnam Manyante. Swapna Sushuptayostu Kenachidrupena Vikalam Tam Manyante. Shuddham tu Atmanam Avastatare Rahitam Kechideva Mahadhiyaha. Ataha Tadatmakatvam Yadadatyena Upadidikshuhu Shastram Tat Pratipatti Upayatvena Chatuspatvam Atmanaha Kalpayitva Braviti Swayamatma Chatuspat. He says, because different people have different perceptions of what is Atma, Shastra uses all of them together and then shows the Atatmya state of Brahman. Okay, it's one point of view, but the Prakriya is to show what is Brahman. Okay, it's not about who or what others take it as or anything. The totality of the experience is used. Again, the Karanakarya Prakriya only. The Vishwatejasa Prajna and all is used to show what is Turiya. From your experience of Jagat, it takes you to Swarupa. That's why it is Tatasa Lakshana only. So it is used only to show Brahman. So we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.